Hello and welcome to Last Mixtape. My name's Stephen White, and on this week's show, we turn our lens to why Ireland still sings Viva la Quinta Brigada. But first,
people are forced to flee their homes by a mob which was intent on causing havoc and setting fires. It is a shocking reality and a terrifying experience for those who had to grab what they could and run for their lives.
Off our streets, lefty scum! Off our streets, lefty scum!
And then my son was asking me, Daddy, are we okay? And I said, let's pray to see what God will do to us tonight. And thank God. Now I'm asking, should I send them to school or should I keep them home?
I only got 3 things from the house, and the only thing I did not get from the house were the letters my children wrote for me, because that is all I have from my children.
There's literally nothing I could have done about it. I told them and all when they were eating the car, that's my property where our car is, and they still didn't care. They were like, oh, it'll be safe. I knew straight away it wasn't going to be safe.
Off our streets, lefty scum! Off our streets, lefty scum!
over the past week, Belfast has once again found itself in the headlines after a violent knife attack left a victim with significant injuries. And because the alleged suspect is a Sudanese man, the incident has quickly become fuel for anti-immigrant sentiment and protests and violence that we've seen across Ireland and Europe in the past year. Images of burning vehicles, attacks on homes, masked rioters roaming the streets, and even setting up blockades looking for immigrants, leaving those immigrant communities afraid in the place they call home. And amid all the anger, the victim's family issued a statement via the PSNI which said, "We do not want this terrible tragedy to be used to divide people or fuel hostility. Do not do this in the name of our loved one, as we do not share the same values." Let's be very clear about something. There is nothing noble about intimidating and scaring families out of their homes. These people are not interested in protecting others. And as has been well documented, their care for such things only ever arises when the perpetrator of the crime is from an immigrant background. But when something like femicide is at its highest rate, these people's care for their community seems to dissipate. There's nothing patriotic about attacking people in their homes and attacking them where they're vulnerable and making them afraid. Indeed, in a recent episode, we covered some of this in regards to CMAT's speech at the Ivor Novello Awards and the rise of the far right and fascism and speaking out about it. As I watched these scenes from Belfast of these rioters in masks, of these fascists and far right and anti-immigrant groups, I recalled a great song, a great Irish anti-fascist song from one of our great songwriters. That song is Viva la Quinta Brigada by Christy Moore. It's a song about fascist tensions not only abroad but here in Ireland, and how we must not face away from them and we must confront them. And that's what this episode is all about. Let's dive in. For years, Christy Moore's Viva la Quinta Brigada has been woven into the very fabric of Irish culture. The choruses rang out at concert venues, political protests and pub snug sing-alongs and sessions alike. But listening to it again this week, I realised something. Viva la Quinta Brigada isn't just a song about the Spanish Civil War nearly 90 years ago. It's a song about the same tension within Ireland, a debate this country is still having today, almost a century later. To understand why Christy Moore first wrote Viva la Quinta Brigada, we must travel back to the 1930s. A decade in which democracy across Europe appeared increasingly fragile. In Italy, Benito Mussolini's fascist regime firmly established fascist ideology in Europe. In Germany, Adolf Hitler, influenced by Mussolini's cult of personality, had risen to power, preying on the country's post-World War I depression and unrest. And in Spain, a political crisis was about to explode into one of the defining conflicts of the 20th century. The Spanish Civil War began in 1936, when General Francisco Franco led a military uprising against Spain's democratically elected Republican government. To many people around the world, Spain became a battleground where the future of Europe would be decided. Writers, workers, trade unionists, socialists, republicans and idealists from dozens of countries travelled to Spain to join the international brigades. They believed fascism had to be confronted before it spread further across Europe, and among them were over 200 Irish volunteers. Many came from working class backgrounds, veterans of Ireland's own revolutionary period, War of Independence and the subsequent Civil War. Some were motivated by socialism, others republicanism. Some simply believed that what was happening in Spain was morally wrong. Together, they became known as the Connolly Column. History is rarely as tidy as simply the heroics of the Connolly Column fighting fascism. Because while Irish volunteers were travelling to Spain to fight Franco, others were cheering them on. The Blueshirts, led by Ono Duffy, had emerged as one of the most controversial political movements in Irish history. Their uniforms, marches and rhetoric drew obvious comparisons with the authoritarian movements emerging across Europe. Their vision of Ireland was rooted in a narrow understanding of nationhood, religion and belonging, including a proposed Christian faith mandate that would have restricted citizenship to those who were Irish by their definition. Although historians still debate the extent to which the movement could be considered genuinely fascist, what cannot be disputed is that many within the movement admired authoritarian politics and saw Franco's Spain as a cause worth supporting. And when the Irish volunteers sailed to Spain to fight Franco, the Spanish Civil War became a battleground for competing visions of Ireland itself. This isn't a comfortable chapter in Irish history, but songs tell us what a society chooses to remember, and one man decided it was worth confronting: Christy Moore.
I'm attracted to songs that are troublesome sometimes. I'm attracted to songs that cause a bit of a stir, that maybe cause people to reflect. I heard somebody saying once that the old ballad singers used to carry the news. Songs that cause reflection or cause us maybe to sit up a little bit.
Christy Moore is Ireland's great custodian of social and cultural memory. Whether it was capturing the economic anxieties of the 1980s Ireland and Britain through Ordinary Man, or confronting the hypocrisy of the Catholic Church through Middle of the Island, Moore has never shied away from Ireland's difficult past or its difficult present. To this day, Moore has been an advocate of the pro-refugee, anti-racism Ireland for All campaign, musically mirrored in his powerful rendition of Dylan's I Pity the Poor Immigrant, and so it goes too with Viva la Quinta Brigada, taken from Moore's 1984 album Ride On. Listen carefully to the lyrics of Viva la Quinta Brigada and you'll notice Christy isn't content to celebrate the Irish volunteers who travelled to Spain. He's equally interested in the people who stood on the docks waving goodbye to Franco's supporters, the institutions that blessed them and the voices that encouraged them. With all the force of a great protest song somewhere between Pete Seeger and the Clancy brothers, Moore lays it all out.
But many Irish heard the call of Franco, joined Hitler and Mussolini too. A propaganda from the pulpit and newspapers helped O'Duffy to gather up his crew.
For Christy Moore, the story wasn't complete unless these uncomfortable truths remained part of it. This is what makes Moore's songwriting through the lens of Viva la Quinta Brigada so remarkable. Viva la Quinta Brigada is a song written in Ireland in the 1980s about Spain in the 1930s that still feels relevant in Ireland today. Great art resonates throughout time. It can say something about the moment it was written, it can say something that happened before, and indeed it can say something about the present and the future. Rarely does great art just live in one context, and indeed protest songs are often reused, recycled and reinterpreted over time for different meanings. And such is the case with Viva la Quinta Brigada. Not only does it say something about the resilience of the time and the importance of fighting fascism itself, but it also is not afraid to face into the reality of our own history, of our own relationship with fascism. When watching everything that is happening in Belfast at the moment, it is important not to face away from the reality. In the north of Ireland, as in the south of Ireland, far-right groups and anti-immigrant sentiment is infesting the social culture. Now, these people will not frame themselves as fascists, they'll most likely call me a big lefty woke communist, and I am one. These people only care about themselves. As has been said and covered in many other articles and on many videos that I've watched, femicide at its highest rate ever in the north of Ireland, these actors never interject themselves into those social scenarios. Violence only matters if the person who is committing the violence they can blame on immigration, because it is politically advantageous to them. They do not care about the family of the victim, do not care about the victim themselves. Indeed, if the victim's family were to come out, and they did, to say that they do not agree with their politics, that is something of an aside. Fascism is the politics of fear and intimidation. How Viva la Quinta Brigada ties into this is that music is a memory. Song is a story. It is passed down from generation to generation, and sometimes it tells very important stories about ourselves. Moments, bands like Kneecap, who are from Belfast, spoken out against the violence and the perpetrators, as CMAD did a couple of weeks ago. Song is a way of protesting that. It's a way of speaking it. It's a way of dragging it out to light. In no means can song alone just change the politics of the world. It's up to us, the citizens, to do that. I've said it before on these episodes that the citizens are the politics, not the politicians. Far-right people do not speak for Ireland, but they will frame themselves as such. Side with the likes of Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk and Nigel Farage, who have no love of the Irish people or even understanding of such. This is the politics of fear filled in from a void of long ago. Franco said it, Mussolini said it, Hitler said it, the Blueshirts said it, and it rhymes to this very day. That's why the importance of songs like Viva la Quinta Brigada are more important now than they were when they were written. It's that cultural memory that reminds us that anti-fascism is built into Irish culture. Music is the ever-going conversation, and song is often the record. Moments like these, it's good to remember who we are, and songs like Viva la Quinta Brigada remind us of that. Ireland is an anti-fascist country, and while there may be fascists within, they will not persevere. Watching events unfold in Belfast this week, I found myself returning to the defiant sound of Viva la Quinta Brigada, searching for some kind of anchor in a world that increasingly feels short of them. To Moore's uncompromising words, I'm reminded that history survives because people continue to tell the story in song. That the violent rise of fascism is not an abstract thing happening somewhere else, but is something we've faced down before, both here and abroad. Sure, the names, places and banners have changed, but the core ideology remains as timeless in its brutality as ever. A fire that history warns us can always be rekindled by those willing to exploit fear and division. It's a tide Viva la Quinta Brigada reminds us has ebbed and flowed before, one that will go back out once we resist. As isn't simply that it remembers the men who travelled to Spain. It's that it refuses to let us forget the choices that surrounded them, the choices made by those who opposed fascism, and the choices by those who supported it. It's a choice every generation eventually has to make for itself. And as long as those questions remain unanswered, Christy Moore's Viva la Quinta Brigada will still remain relevant. And that's why, as events unfold in Belfast, we must remember this song and what it teaches us about ourselves today and in the past. And so it goes, and there it went. Viva la Quinta Brigada, Christy Moore, the Belfast Riots, the Spanish Civil War, and tying it all together. The ever-relevance of music and song itself. But what do you think? What do you think of Viva la Quinta Brigada? What do you think of Christy Moore as a songwriter? What do you think of it as one of the great anti-fascist Irish songs? How do you think it ties in with modernity itself and the Belfast race riots, the rise of fascism, and indeed the rise of the far right? Is it a song we still sing today? Is there other songs that you think fit the mould, or other artists making new music that you think also fit this time? And as always, thank you for watching the last mixtape, and if you could like, hype and subscribe, that would be a great help to the channel indeed. But as always, I'll see you next week.
I tend to follow my heart more than any political ideology. I wouldn't even say I have political ideology.
How would you describe your politics?
I wouldn't.
And where do they come from? Are they just them from the heart and from instinct? Or is there a family background of political involvement and radicalism?
Instinctive.